It's your smell. What the bird is barbecuing.
G'day jabronis, it is the Verd back with you again. Welcome here to our week 8 game for the National Pokeball League. Tampa Frogadiers are currently 5-2 with a +7 differential, so we're sitting pretty solid right now, feeling pretty good with how we're going. I'm up against cheeeeeeeseboi 628, coach of the Phoenix Sunkern. He is currently 6-1 with a +11 differential. So win here today is massive because it gives us a chance to leapfrog cheese if we win by 3-0 or more. A 2-0 win will get us equal on differential, which is pretty good. The main aim for me here is just to win, guys, because like I said to you guys earlier, if I can win this game and Jolt ends up losing to Gypsy, then I'm pretty much secured playoffs unless I get absolutely dunked in my last two games and Jolt like 6-0s in his last two games, which I think it's not unlikely for Jolt to 6-0, but I think it's going to be unlikely for me, I feel, to get dunked twice. I think I'll be able to at least get the kills required for my differential. But regardless, the aim for me in this game, like I said, was to win, because if I beat Cheese, like I said, I could go ahead of him too, which means it's more pressure on Cheese in his final two games as well. And obviously Cheese has a couple of tough matchups, especially next week. Cheese plays Rob Jr. So if he loses this game, then he goes to 6-2, like I would be, and then Rob Jr., who, spoilers, won his game, he is 5-3. So then if he beats Cheese, he leapfrogs Cheese. So really important game in terms of our division. Now I'm gonna spoil another result, so if you don't want to know about it, click away now. As a result of Jolt versus Gypsy, if you want to watch their games, then listen, go away now. I'll give you 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So Gypsy ended up beating Jolt 4-0, which means that Jolt is now at 4-4, I believe, with a -5 differential. So we're currently sitting at 5-2 with a +7 differential. So basically, we're in a really good spot. Even if we lose this game, we're still ahead of Jolt, and we'll be ahead of him differential-wise. And so then we should be okay as long as we can keep performing above where Jolt is, because Jolt's on the outside looking in now. You got Gypsy, who won, he's at 6-2. He's currently top of the table, and then between Cheese and I might decide second, and Morton and Rob Jr.'s down there. So this is a huge game. If I win it, then I'm up with the big boys, up with the top players on the same wins as them, which is huge. If I lose it, I'm in a little bit more of a dogfight. It really requires me to play super well against Shardy and then Gypsy. So a win here was massive. It gave me a bit of breathing room, and I guess most importantly with this season, the way it's been, it allows me to take a loss if I have to. Like a lot of players this season have been taking really unfortunate losses due to hacks, so it means that this win would give me a cushion heading into my last 2 weeks. But regardless, let's get into this match. So Cheese brought a pretty interesting team. I was very surprised that he chose... I hadn't seen Heatran in any of my mocks. It was really surprising because Heatran does have a good matchup against me, so I'm not surprised that he brought that. I guess a lot of other people, they brought Mandibuzz, and he didn't bring Mandibuzz. So I was a little bit surprised by that, because obviously, you can kind of check Hooper and whatnot, so I had to be really careful about the other things. But I knew, looking at his team, normally I was going in, I said to you guys in the video, right, I'm going to lead Bulu, I'm going to lead Bulu, I'm going to lead Bulu. But then I looked at his team, and I'm like, I don't really feel the Bulu lead, because if he leads Donphan, then I'm switching out straight away, because I can Horn Leech and bring him down to Sturdy, but then he can just Gunk Shot and Oko me, and I'm not really down with that idea. It's not really high on my priority list for that to happen. So I actually decided the middle ground best lead against him would be Rotom, and it does turn out he leads with the Donphan. I lead out with Rotom, so I'm in a fantastic spot to start with, because he has Mind Games from the get-go. Now, because I'm a Colberberry Rotom, I don't really care if the Donphan stays in and this play fails. I remember talking a bit with people about these kind of scenarios, and in mocks, a lot of people actually stayed in with Donphan, but I feel the reason why they stayed in with Donphan was because they didn't have Heatran on their team. Heatran is a really good absorber of that Will-O-Wisp. He can also go to a Moongus and whatnot, so I actually make a pretty ballsy play turn 1. I go for Volt Switch. The reason I do this, guys, is because, like I said, worst case scenario is this Donphan's going to go for Stealth Rocks. I have no Focus Sashes. My Beedrill, like we have talked about, is designed to be able to take 2 rounds of Stealth Rocks and then a quick attack from Solo if it needs to, so that's fine. other than that, like, rocks are kind of annoying, but I can also get rocks up with my Nihilego and, you know, cause a bit of mayhem on his side too, because obviously his Swellow really is hampered by rocks, especially if it's a Flame Orb set. So there's something like in my eye that's really frustrating me. I think I've got it, but it's just like, then when your eye gets stretched, it feels weird, pardon me. But regardless, I wasn't too fussed if he stayed in and went for an attacking move, because it's not worth him risking. If you look at his team and the way it's orientated, if T-Tar gets weakened, then this is like his best check to Nihilego, as well as his best check to Beedrill. So this is really critical for him. He needs to be able to preserve this at a good health. He can't risk it getting burned, because then Beedrill will just roost stall him, and Nihilego can potentially become even more of an issue if, you know, I can predict around the EQ players and whatnot. Also means he can't really punch through Hooper, and if he's burned, he won't be able to kill Bulu with the gunk shot. So for him, it's a no-brainer. He should switch. Now, I was really expecting him to go out to Amoonguss here because it was a pretty safe play. I guess the reason he potentially went Swellow, I click Volt Switch, he ends up going into Swellow, I Volt Switch, and Swellow dies. Now, I think there were a couple of reasons why he went into Swellow. There's three that come to mind. First and foremost, if he's Gut Swellow, then he gets the boost, and that's really good for him. If I go for Willow, if I go for Hex, which is my best way of hitting, or Shadow Ball, it's the best way of hitting Donphan, then Swellow obviously deals that, but at the same time, if you're predicting Hex or Shadow Ball, then I would have gone T-Tar, because at least you can Pursuit Trap and pressure that way. And also, if you're predicting Willow, I would have gone Heatran, because obviously the Flash Fire boost is massive. That's why I went for Volt Switch, because the Willow was so obvious that Heatran seemed to be the play. And the third thing, which is the reason why I don't think he went into Amoonguss in this situation, was if I was a Scarfed Rotom moving for Trick, it made more sense going into Swellow, giving it the Choice Scarf to allow it to outspeed Beedrill, and then giving Rotom a pretty much useless Silk Scarf. So I can kind of understand why Cheese was doing this play, but it does seem like either Heatran or Amoonguss was the safer option. But I'm not going to complain. Turn 1, we take down Swellow, a massive threat. And I go out to Hooper. The reason I go to Hooper, I was thinking about what I wanted to go out to on that turn. If I go out to Zygarde, he goes straight out to Manaphy, and that's not really ideal. It kind of allows him a free setup turn, and I don't really have a hardcore Manaphy check, so I didn't want to do that. If I went out to Nihilego, he just went to Donphan for free. I could have gone back into Rotom and pressured him again, but at the same time, I just wasn't a huge fan of that. If I went out to Beedrill, that would have been kind of okay. But the problem with Beedrill was if he was a bulky T-Tar, then I'd Mega Evolve, U-turn, then he'd just click Pursuit and do an absolute chunk to me. Not really down with that option. If I went Bulu, then he would go into his Amoonguss or his Heatran, which at this point I assumed outsped me as well, because it's a Heatran and Amoonguss. I didn't know its item. It could have been the Pyapa Berry to prevent the Zen Headbutt from killing it, so I had to play carefully. Hooper made the most sense, because since I had Psychic for Amoonguss, I could also Psychic the Donphan. I had Drain Punch for Tyranitar plus Heatran, and I did have, obviously, the Thunderbolt for Manaphy, but I knew Manaphy was most likely going to go for either Signal Beam or U-turn, so my safe play after this is going straight into my Beedrill. Now, this is a bad play, as well as a good play, I guess. The reason it's a bad play is because I was literally talking a turn before about the fact that I didn't want to allow T-Tar in for free against Beedrill, and now I've basically done that situation, but Beedrill's taken 14% more health, which means he's going to take more from Pursuit. Fortunately for me, guys, he actually is not running Pursuit on his T-Tar, so that's why he doesn't go out to it. He goes out to Amoonguss instead, and I get to get the damage off that I wanted. Now, not only is this damage important, it tells me he's a physically defensive Amoonguss, which is good to know for Bulu, and really good to know for Hooper too. Now, the really important part, though, is I've gone for U-turn here, and he stayed in. Now, that tells me he's either going to click Foul Play, or he's probably going to go for a Spore Play or Hidden Power Fire. They're like the three options. I think a Spore is his best option here, so I actually choose to go out to my Hooper, and as you see, he does try and Spore, and because I'm safe to go with it doesn't work, and we see Black Sludge. Black Sludge is massive. That means that Bulu can pretty much knock this Amoonguss straight out after an SD, so that's massive. That's so good, guys. That is incredibly, really good for us. Also, I feel like Hooper pressures the Amoonguss so much here that he has no reason to stay in, so I'm going to choose to go for Sub this turn. He makes an interesting play into Manaphy. I don't know how much I agree with that. I guess if you were assuming it was Scarf, that makes sense, but at the same time, if you were assuming Hooper is Scarfed, you would have gone out to T-Tar. I guess this was maybe scouting what move he's going to go for, but if I just clicked Psychic here, that would have done an absolute crap ton to Manaphy, and looking at his team, Manaphy is probably his biggest win con, so it was really ballsy for Cheese to risk it like that, especially since he's seen Goggles. I don't know if he'd expect Sub, but I am going for Sub, and it sucks for me, because if I click Psychic there, Manaphy would have taken a chunk, but at the same time, this was in a really strong position, because in my mind, because I've seen U-turn from Manaphy, he has no reason to stay in. There's a chance I could have Thunderbolt or Energy Ball because he has a Donphan on his team. He has no reason to stay in. And I'm looking at his team like, okay, he's not going to go Donphan because, well, he could go Donphan, but at the same time, if I click Energy Ball, terrible play. He can't go Amoonguss because that's another free sub. He could go Heatran because that deals with everything, and he could go T-Tar. So for the fact that he could go T-Tar or Heatran on this play, I choose the Drain Punch. He's going to U-turn, and he goes out to the T-Tar. Because it hasn't Mega Evolved, its defenses aren't as strong, so Hooper takes an absolute shit ton of health from it. And because of safety goggles, we do not take any recoil from the Sandstorm, and by turn 6, we have taken out his Mega T-Tar and his Swellow. So we're in a phenomenal position. He goes back into Manaphy, and now the mind games start to play, I guess. So with Manaphy, the main move it's going to be going for against my team is U-turn. I'm not really sure what kind of Manaphy it is yet, but it's mainly clicking U-turn. Now, on this situation, I had a couple of choices. I could either go back out to my Beedrill, but what I decided to do instead is I try and play a bit more, a bit smarter in this matchup. So I actually choose to go out to my Nihilego. No, I don't want to go to Bulu. Okay, so yeah, sorry. There's a reason I did this, I remember now. I went out to Bulu because I didn't think Manaphy would stay in, because he couldn't risk taking the Psychic to the face if I had it. He couldn't risk anything. All he'd seen from Hooper was Sub and Drain Punch. He did not know the set, but he could not risk his Manaphy at that point of the game. U-turn was definitely his play. I wanted to go Bulu because if I went Bulu and he went into Amoonguss, then because the Sandstorm's still up, I could go hard into Nihilego to take any hit he threw at me, and then go hard back into Hooper, predicting the Spore, and then I'd just basically get another kill at that point, which is awesome. So there was that play. And with Hooper now, I can basically freely click Psychic because I don't care if T-Tar. Obviously T-Tar can't come in and stop me, so that's great. And the other reason I wanted to go Bulu was on the off chance that it forced him into Heatran, because then I could go hard into my Zygarde, because he doesn't really have too much, because he didn't bring Mandibuzz, he doesn't really have much for the Zygarde set. And so the second option kind of happens, he U-turns out and goes out to his Tran. I'm going to get a bit of health back, and I basically just think, like, Zygarde's got ridiculous bulk, it can take this Heatran on just fine. As you see, this Flamethrower does nothing, but he gets the burn. It sucks, because the Flamethrower was not going to be able to break a sub on my Zygarde. That is really, really crucially bad, guys. This is a 10% chance to burn with this Flamethrower, and I'm telling you right now, it is going to be a bitch to deal with, because without that burn, I am a healthy Zygarde that can sub up freely on this Heatran. I do not fear Roar, because only a madman leaves this Heatran, and if I sub up on the Tran, and he goes out to anything on his team, like if I sub and he goes out to Manaphy, I get a free 1,000 arrows as he Ice Beams me. I don't really care, I get free damage on Manaphy. If he goes out to Donphan, I have my sub up, I can then just start coiling, because he can just EQ to try and break this up, but after a few coils, that's not going to go down well for him, and he's forced into a situation of trying to predict around me and go into Manaphy, and all that takes is like one sub play or one detail play, and Manaphy's just destroyed. And Amoonguss, for what I knew, only had Foul Play to be able to hit me with, and I could deal with that. Little did I know the Amoonguss had HP Ice, but this was still really annoying at the time when it happened, because it was a 10% chance. Like, I can understand if we went for Plume. Plume makes a lot more sense, but not Flamethrower. So I'm in a bit of an awkward situation here, because obviously I'm getting good health back. I decided to go for Arrows just on the off chance, because I didn't really know what his Rocket was. On the off chance he wanted to stay in and get at Rocks, fearing, maybe forcing me out, thinking, well, now... the other thing I guess I wanted to do was just, if it was Sugarberry, I wanted to burn it, because obviously Beedrill late game, as you can see, like, you know, you've got Manaphy, Amoonguss, Tran. If I can just weaken Donphan, and then Beedrill just runs through him. So I definitely wanted to do that, but that didn't work. I went into Donphan, and I assume he's probably going to want to go for his Rocks here, but I choose to Coil, predicting that, as he can't really touch me too well or anything. Like, EQ is weakened because of grassy terrain, thanks to Bulu. So what I can freely do now is just go for, what I should have done here too, make a bit of a misplay. I should have gone for Dragon Tail there. The reason why I didn't was because I felt that he was going to go into Amoonguss, and it would have been such a null and void play, because I would have just Dragon Tailed, Amoonguss would have gone out, but then he would have just gone back into it again no matter what came in. Like, if I had Rocks up, it might have been more beneficial, but that's the reason I kind of went for Arrows. But I get a good chunk up, and actually, like, that did 24 to Manaphy. That would have done 48 if I was at +1. So you can see how critical this burn is already becoming, and this Manaphy's a pain in my ass, but luckily I got a plan to start breaking down his team even further. I'd switch out of Zygarde into my Nihilego, predicting the Ice Beam. As he does go for it, does absolutely 0 to Nihilego because I have a shit ton of bulk. As he goes into Amoonguss, I get up my light screen. I figured he was going to go for another Spore, so I got to Hooper. Now, on this turn, I was very much considering going for Sub again, because I didn't know if he had a way to break my Sub. If he had Foul Play, then he definitely had a way to break it. But the other thing I was looking at was like there was no need to sub, because last time he went hard into Manaphy. I don't want to risk going for a sub, wasting my HP when I can just click Psychic here. And even if Heatran comes in, Heatran's getting chunked. And if you look at his team, if Heatran gets chunked, then it opens the door for Bulu to potentially clean. So the situation here is like either Amoonguss or Heatran is probably going down on this turn. And he decides to sack off his Amoonguss. Hooper gets its second kill of the game, taking down 2 massive walls. And then Manaphy comes back in. So at this point, it is 6-3. And I'm feeling pretty good. It probably, I think, honestly, at this point would have been over if Zygarde was not burned. Because Manaphy would have been at like half health around there at this point. Well, definitely a lot lower than what it was now. And I could have definitely pressured it a lot more in this game. Donphan would have been weaker too. Zygarde would have been a really annoying thing for him to deal with, because he could literally just come in, arrows, coil up, deal with Tram plus Donphan. And if it's behind a sub, Manaphy wastes a move to kill it, sorry, not to kill it, to break the sub, and then just takes an arrows to the face, and it's just, it was really frustrating when that happened. But regardless, Manaphy's in. I'm going to predict around the U-turn, go back into my Nihilego, because I figure this will make him go into his Donphan, and on this turn I can just go out to my Rotom, predicting a potential Earthquake, and as he goes for it. And on this turn, it was another one of those 50-50s, and I said to myself, like, okay, do I click Volt Switch again, predicting Heatran, or do I just play it safe and go for the Willow? And I choose to go for the Willow, guys, and it might seem a bit of a confusing play because he does choose to go Tran. My reasoning behind this play was the fact that at this point of the game, I don't mind if he gets the Flash Fire boost, because Hooper has such good Spadef behind a light screen. I know I can take any hit from Flash Fire boosted Heatran, so that is like the least of my concerns. I know, and also the big thing is I know I'm faster, I can scout that. And the reason why I want to go into Hooper here, guys, is because I want to see if I outspeed this Heatran. Because that's really important information for this battle, is if I can outspeed this Heatran. Since outspeeding the Heatran means that Bulu probably outspeeds Heatran. So I'm going to go into my Hooper, and as you're going to see behind the light screen, even though he's Flash Fire boosted, it's not even doing half of me. Luckily, he doesn't get the burn again. That would have been unfortunate. He goes Manaphy hard on the Drain Punch. Now, the funny thing is, I was talking to Cheese after the game, and he actually revealed that he was Choppleberry. So he said he wanted to preserve it at this situation because he didn't know if I was Superpower Bulu, and also he felt that he might have to deal with Hooper in a later game as well. So at this point, Hooper's at a decent range of HP to the point where I can bring it in against Heatran or Donphan again if I have to. So I'm not willing to risk it just yet. I choose to actually go back out to my Beedrill. Now, this is a bit of a misplay on my part. I should have gone back out to my Nihilego on that turn, because Beedrill now is way too weak, especially since it was a big win con. I should have gone back out to Nihilego because it didn't really do much at this point. If he went out to Donphan or Heatran, I could have just gone for my Stealth Rocks, then let it die, and then gone into some pressure. Like, if you look at this matchup right now, if I had got up Stealth Rocks with Nihilego and Donphan killed me, I could have gone out to my Rotom potentially and started pressuring things with a Hex Spam. I could have gone back out to Hooper and threatened with just clicking Psychic against his team. I could have gone out to Bulu and just clicked Horn Leech. I definitely had a lot of options, since I did have Zygarde as a basic sack to Heatran if I ever needed it to, because it could take the hits. So this was a really big misplay on my part. As he's going to go out to Donphan, this is again another little 50-50 here between Cheese and I. I was really contemplating going for Roost, because I thought he might just go for Ice Sharp with Donphan, but I figured that it was actually better for him to go for EQ, since in this situation, you can't risk Beedrill getting back up to health. Even if you don't think I'm running Roost, like, it's not worth, especially if you like Manaphy as your main win con and you know that Beedrill will outspeed your Heatran, you need to get this thing off your field. So I actually choose to U-turn. He does use the Ice Shard. It works out for him. Like, I don't really regret my play, because if I had gone for Roost there, even with my defense investment, if he was max attack Donphan and clicked EQ, I was gone. Like, I was pretty much just gone at that point. So there was no reason for me to risk that. It was better for me to go for my damage and expect the EQ, because that was, I felt, his better play. But he doesn't make that. I go back out to Hooper, because at this point, Psychic will knock out Donphan. Unless he is like max HP, max Spadef, then, like, even then, it's pretty good chance to kill. So I choose to click Psychic. Now, I was really considering going for the Drain Punch, but because I just felt it wasn't worth, I figured Psychic was the better play here, because if I Drain Punch any EQs, then I don't really gain anything. I can get a little bit of health off of Donphan, but that's about it, whereas Psychic will definitely knock it out. Now, yes, this could have caught Heatran on the switch in, but I felt with Bulu still in the back, there was no reason for Cheese to risk his Heatran at this point, because his only real check left for Bulu is Manaphy. If he allows Heatran to come in here, take the Psychic plus the Drain Punch, then like Superpower Bulu can just run through the rest of his team. But he actually does choose to go into it. I really figured that he would sack his Donphan there, as I'm looking at my team and thinking like, what does Donphan do? Like, Donphan potentially walls Nihilego, but Nihilego has barely any health left. Manaphy is healthy enough to take it on, so is Heatran. What are you risking? Like, I didn't really see the point of him preserving Donphan in this game. I just didn't feel like it was going to do that much for him. So on this turn, I decided to click Psychic again, which might seem like a misplay, but at this point I didn't know what item Cheese had, and this again was the big test of knowing, would I be able to outspeed this Heatran with my Tapu Bulu? Because if not, I have to preserve my Rotom as healthy as possible, because that becomes my win con. At this point of the game, remember guys, if Zygarde wasn't burned, I'd be in a much stronger position. I could literally go hard out from Hooper here into my Zygarde, because if he has like Hidden Power Bug, that's what he's going to go for to kill me. Or I could just stack up my Nihilego, go into Zygarde, and just basically get some kills because like Zygarde's a monster. So I choose the Psychic because it covers the Manaphy play, it covers the Donphan play, and if he wants to preserve a potential Choppleberry, then that's what he'll do. And I do outspeed, and that tells me though that my Bulu will outspeed this Heatran, and that means that we are in a very interesting predicament. I was running the numbers during this, looking at the Heatran set, and it looked to me like about a max HP set. Not much Spadef, because like it took a very big chunk from Hooper's Psychic for a Heatran, which means it probably wasn't running any Fizz Def. And so I figured that it was kind of a bulky Tran, creeping something I have no idea of, but it wasn't really creeping Bulu, it wasn't running the speed, it was running more bulk. And in order for Bulu to kill, I needed Rocks Up. So I had a bit of a tough choice here. I was really wanting to go Rotom and click Volt Switch, bringing in Rotom, Volt Switching on the Heatran, because he has no reason at this point to go out to his Donphan on a Volt Switch. Leaking it that way, going back into Beedrill, going back into my Rotom, and then clicking Hex and knocking this out, because if Manaphy comes in, unless it has Shadow Ball, it's not killing me, and if it has Shadow Ball, I can then just go into my Bulu and basically clean up from there, and whatnot. But what I decided to do instead, which probably wasn't the best way to do it, but it was still, I feel, in my head, judging on the fact that I knew that, since I knew that my Hooper outsped Heatran, I knew my Bulu would probably outspeed it too, so I choose to go into Nihilego. This kind of wasted a sack, but at the same time, these rocks are super important, because I kill off the Tran. Oh, I don't kill off the Tran, sorry. With those rocks up, I put Heatran in range of Stone Edge, and that is the biggest thing of all, ladies and gentlemen. That's the biggest thing of all. I can put it in range of Stone Edge from my Bulu. So at this point, I'm like, okay, we go into Zygarde. Now this is again a bit of a misplay. Like, I don't feel like these were massive misplays, but looking back on it, I didn't make the optimal plays in this game, which is unfortunate, but you know, that happens. This is the game that we play. But on this turn, what I should have done here was gone for sub, guys. We'd seen that he wasn't able to break my sub with Flamethrower. If he went into Manaphy, he had to click a move, then I could just Dragon Tail him out again, force Manaphy to get weaker and weaker. If he goes out to Donphan again, I can just, you know, do these shenanigan plays and just cover anything that he does. But I chose at this point to go for 1,000 Arrows because I either weakened Manaphy, I weakened Donphan, I chipped things down. Whereas in hindsight, I definitely should have gone for sub. So I misplay here, 100%. As he goes into Mana. If I had sub there, I would have been in a much stronger spot. But then again, if you see Manaphy's health, it's been hit by, I think, 2 burn 1,000 Arrows now. You can definitely tell from that damage that Manaphy couldn't have come in on those, like, in a normal situation. So I would have been free to click 1,000 Arrows, do the damage on Donphan, kill the Heatran. Like, that burn did really suck, that 10% chance. But it's the game we play, and I've always said, and I've always tried to make my philosophy that I can play around hacks and make it work. So he actually goes hard Donphan here, which is fair enough. I wanted to click Hex, but it wasn't worth the risk in that situation. I can't allow Manaphy to set up ever. If this is like a Salak Berry Manaphy, I can't allow it to set up at all. So, or if it was sub Salak there, then I need a Volt Switch to potentially break the sub, because he could be running bulk, and then Bulu obviously can take an Ice Beam from there. So Volt Switch, I don't regret the play at all. I choose here to just spam Hex, even though I know he's probably just going to Ice Shard. I don't have, if I had Resto Chester, this would be perfect, but I'm Colbur, so he's just going to spam Ice Shard. This crit, okay, that crit right there, that sucked. So you might be thinking, oh, Verd, but you know, it was doing 18% already. What does it matter if it's doing 25%? The reason that matters is because it put my Rotom now completely in range of Ice Beam, and that sucks because if it was scarfed, like if it's scarfed, yeah, I know the show's on. I'll watch it with her in a sec. All right, I'll say goodbye to you in a sec. But yeah, basically, yeah, that was family. But basically, to just summarize, at this point, I would have lived the Ice Beam. It was a very good roll in my favor to live, and I could have just clicked Hex to knock out Mana, or just Volt Switch to knock out Mana, but he gets the crit, which sucks. Luckily, Bulu comes in. Ice Beam does not have a chance to knock me out, so I just got to make sure I don't get frozen, and I don't, so we're cool. We hit the Horn Leech, so now my only chance of winning, though, is hitting the Stone Edge. I just need Bulu to hit this one Stone Edge, and we are Gucci. We've got this game won, and we do. I'll say goodbye in a sec. Apologies about that. Had some technical issues I had to deal with, but basically, what I just wanted to say was the Stone Edge connected, and we were able to win. So we go. Tampa Frogadiers are now 6-2 with a +9 differential. We are equal in differential with Cheese, but his conference record is better. So he is still technically ahead of us, but we are chilling in 3rd place overall. And because of Gypsy's victory, is what it means that there are 3 teams at the top on 6 wins, 2 losses. So I'm in the top pack, which is kind of wild. 2 weeks to go. Felt really good with how this game went. If it wasn't for that burn on Zygarde and also the Ice Shard crit on Rotom, I think I would have gotten a better differential for this and would have been ahead of Cheese, but that's just how the game goes. And I've always said that I'm the kind of person that you can play through any hacks that happens to you and come out the other side. Like, I tried to do that my best against Joel. Unfortunately, that was a lot more crucial, I feel, than the flamethrower burn here. That 5-speed missile was just, I really needed that. But regardless, guys, I'm really happy with how my performance went this week. I feel that, you know, the team just functioned really, really well. And I think, you know, Cheese, he did a really good job. He came back from a pretty tough spot at the start. I just predicted really, really nicely, got into a really strong position, and he had to come back from a bit of a deficit there, and he almost did. It was pretty close at the end. I mean, I made a few bad plays, but at the same time, he also got quite lucky in certain patches there. But at the end of the day, a win's a win. I'm going to take it. We have 2 games left for the season. Basically, at this point, Joel is at -5 differential and 2 games behind us. We are at +9 differential, which means we are 14 above him. So basically, as long as we don't get 6-0'd in our last 2 games, we are pretty much sorted and should, fingers crossed, be going through the playoffs. We can secure it next week against Shardy and the Bayern Munich. All we have to do is beat him, and we are guaranteed playoffs no matter what happens. And potentially we're guaranteed a very good seed in playoffs too. The thing is that Cheese next week plays Rob Jr., which is a massive game, like I said, because if Rob Jr. beats him, and Gypsy and I both win our Week 9 games, then Gypsy versus myself in the last round will actually be for top spot of the entire division. It won't really matter too much, because the thing is, if we are playing for that top spot and there's no real repercussions, like if there's no way that I can drop out of... It's hard, because in this current situation, I need to be a bit careful with how I play, since beating Gypsy obviously gets me top spot, which is great. But if I lose to Gypsy, and then Rob and Cheese win in their last weeks, they'll both catch up to me, and their differential might be better than mine, which means I'll go down to 4th. Still be in playoffs, but it means I'll play Gypsy in round 1. Now, I'm not like fussed to play Gypsy in round 1. Obviously, it's a massive challenge, but Gypsy, honestly, I'd rather play him in the semis. I think it'd be like so much more hype playing him in the semifinals, because that would just be like insane. Like, going up against probably the guy that I idolize the most in Draft League would be pretty wild. But we get to play him a couple weeks, but next week is Shardy and the Bayern Munich. Like I said, if we can beat him, we basically secure our place in playoffs no matter what happens, and then we maybe can have a bit more of a fun, relaxed game against Gypsy in the last round. We'll see what happens, but that's going to do it for me, guys. Hope you enjoy. I'm going to wear this hat each week because I think it's going to bring me luck. We'll see what happens, but if you enjoy this, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to comment down below about how you feel the game went. I know there were a few misplays in there, guys. I didn't play it to the best of my ability. Like, early game, I played it like a god, and in my defense, if he didn't burn my Zygarde on that turn, I think I would have really run home with this like 4 or 5-0 at least. So unfortunate end of that way, but you know, good game. Cheese, go check him out. Cheese is a great battler and a fantastic commentator. Brings some pretty wacky sets as well, so I can respect him a lot. But like I said, next week Shardy, looking forward to it. Should be fun. But Tampa Frogadiers now, we have basically clinched our playoff spot. We can definitely secure it 110% next week. But I'm the Bird, guys, and I'm out of space.